Hello everyone, thanks for joining in today's demo class. Welcome to Mathers Bridge. Okay, for the last session, whatever we covered, which we are going to practically see them and then see how output is going to be produced for each example that we explained. Let's get into topic. Folks, please do visit us at our YouTube channel, Mathers Bridge. I'm sure I think you are already subscribed to the channel. If you have not, please do subscribe the channel and then support us. Thank you and then happy learning. Here is our today's agenda. All right, let's have a quick demo of a first concept, how you are actually reading integer from input. Input in our case is like in a keyboard of your desktop or laptop in your system. So once you input the value, then how this scanf is going to read it, right? That's an ultimate goal here. Though scanf is a standard input function, a library function which we are using for reading the input value, whatever user actually inputting. Okay, but the scanf has like two arguments. One is format specifier, basically like what you are going to read and what in what sense, right? So let's say in this example I have variable called inum, which is of a integer data type. So our intention here is to store the integer values in this variable. Okay, so percentage of d basically like reads the integer value and then stores into the second argument, which is of this special symbol is called as like an address of operator. When you see as a prefix to the variable name, that means you are referring the memory location. So scanf reads the input value in the format that you specify, and that value will be stored in memory location of that variable. That's what scanf does, right? Once a scanf is done, then if you would like to see the value, what might be in variable inum using this printf statement, then you would be seeing whatever actually you are inputting. Let's see how you can compile. Let me compile this piece of code and then run it. Okay, see the this program now prompts the user input, right? So enter the input, because from the readability point of view I just made this statement, but literally it is the program waits at the scan of line number 11, right? This is where I think now it's expecting user to enter some input. So if I would say like I'm typing like at number 10 here and then enter, the minute it enters, the scanf reads the value and then kept will keep that value in the variable, right? Our variable inum. So let me enter n. Oh great, see the minute I entered, so it reads the value from the keyboard and store that value in inum. So if I say here what's the value that I stored in previous step is 10, so the entered input value is 10. So these printf statement is actually more formatted for the readability point of view, so that we as a learner we can understand like what is going on in each stage. Let me think case 2. Instead of reading integer value from the keyboard, if I would want to read a float value, how to modify this code to accept float and then store the float value. Okay, what I would do, my data type is like an int, right? So I would wanted to change it to the float as a data type now, because I am expecting a float value from input. So I renamed it as fnum of type float. I have not initialized anything because I am about to read the value from the keyboard and the storing into this variable. Okay, I don't require to do any changes here, but here in the scanf, my format specifier is now f float, my variable f num. Okay, float num. Okay, look at the final output at line number 13. Entered input value is float, so I would want to see output as a float. and then variable specifier is fnum. Okay, this is most likely right. Let me change, save the changes and then compile the piece of code and then run it. Great. So I could see the compilation successful, and then prompt the user to enter the input value. What I would enter is like it may be 24.12345 6, right? And then the minute I enter, it executes a line number 13 piece of the code, right? Do you see this one? Entered input value is what I get, this much. Okay, you don't require to worry about like this match, because this is like a precision error, because real value, when it converts from input and then storing inside it, it has some kind of like correction. Okay, but otherwise this is how you are reading the float value. Let's look at a case number 3 where I would wanted to read a input as a character rather than like integer and float. What modification that I have to do? I have to change the data type as a char, and then variable name maybe you can change it to c variable. Okay, and I don't require to do any changes here because it's a makes sense to the user. Here the format specifier is a C now, and then variable need to be updated at two places, at the scanf function as well as the printf function. Anything else I need to change? Yes, output is also C, right? This is a modification that I have to do. Now I'll save the changes and compile the code and then run it. Do you see this one? So now it prompts me to enter the input as a user, right? So let me put like an uppercase A and then enter. So I should get entered input values like A. Clear? Next case, probably you could think of like, can I use a scanf for reading a multiple values? Let's say for instance I have a integer number and a float number, means like these are the variables. So I wanted to read these two inputs from keyboard, right? What is a scanf modification that I would do? So same thing, instead of like one, now you are using two, but the format specifier that I'm specifying the order in which that you're reading the value. Let's say percentage of d percentage of f means first I'm reading integer value, next I'm reading float value from the input. These are the corresponding the variables with address of operator. Okay, if you do that and then compile the code, run it, you will see the output. In line number 14 you would also use the same, because inum is like integer, so my format specifier is percentage of d. Fnum is a float, so my format specifier is f. Okay, let me compile this code and run it. Okay, so it prompts the user, so I'm sure, I think I am at line number 10. What I will do, right, first I will enter the integer value. The integer value would be 100 space give 25 point 25, let's say, enter. Then you can see the output, right? Entered input values are 100, 25, 25. Since this is like a real number, float number, it displays always like a 6 char after decimal without format specifier. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, click on bell icon and leave the comments. Happy learning. Thank you. Stay tuned to upcoming sessions.